This presentation describes various key assignments on which I have worked in the area of supply chain management. This first case is of a pharmaceutical MNC which had moved from in-house manufacturing to outsourced manufacturing for their branded formulations. This gave rise to confusion in the roles of the erstwhile procurement, production, and QA personnel. The engagement set out the underlying philosophy of outsourcing and defined the third parties as strategic partners. All subsequent policies and processes reflected this fundamental philosophy. The number of third parties were reduced and long-term contracts agreed to ensure volumes justified expected investment and enhanced capability building. At the same time, risk was managed by assigning at least 2 manufacturers for each type of formulation and by committing total volumes without attempting to forecast brand-wise or product-wise volumes. The organization structure was changed to introduce third-party business managers who acted as single windows for the third party and, along with the assigned QA person, acted as a coach to the third party. The entire intervention was executed with utmost transparency. Job descriptions were prepared and applications invited for the new roles from the current staff. New incumbents then participated in job detailing and support requirement identification workshops to ensure role clarity. The result was that at the end of 1 year, the client had seen the order fill rate improve from 67% computed on a month basis to 98% computed on a week basis. This was a liquor manufacturing business, also an MNC. Relatively new entrants to the Indian market, they had successfully established their brand, but their supply systems often fell short. In the course of this exercise, we defined the different business imperatives that drive the supply chain at different stages of a product life cycle. And we used this conceptual clarity to define different policies for different product groups. Subsequently, extensive detailing work was done to numerically define inventory reorder levels, production run lengths, etc. Some support was also provided to identify and/or provide IT support systems. This was work carried out with a household insecticide manufacturing MNC of Indian origin. The focus of the engagement was cost reduction, covering both in-house and outsourced manufacturing. In this engagement, we analyzed the value chain to identify major cost drivers, classify them into controllable and non-controllable factors, and then focused on the controllable factors to drive cost reduction. This engagement also saw the development of a rudimentary optimization model to evaluate the benefits of moving from centralized manufacturing of mosquito coils to a decentralized or remote site for the manufacture. This work was done in the US with one of the Big 10 US retailers who was then in the midst of executing a turnaround strategy. From an erstwhile strategy of largely decentralized planning and execution of merchandising strategies, they were moving towards largely centralized planning for merchandising and a hybrid mode for execution. The assignment was one of many concurrent initiatives being run at the retailing organization. This specific assignment was on developing the purchase order management system. The system needed to integrate with merchandise planning and allocation systems. With an initial brief of developing the work plan, the assignment was subsequently expanded to develop and implement the software solution. Based on the on-time performance of this assignment, the development and implementation of the other two merchandising systems was also awarded to us. Beside project and client management, my role on this assignment was specifically to build up the service provider's image from an IT maintenance company to a business solutions provider. That this was successful was proven by the subsequent assignments that were awarded. This Indian MNC in the pharmaceuticals industry was an active player in the API CRAMS space. They wished to expand their capabilities and capacities in both the development and manufacturing services. A plant and laboratory expansion was undertaken, coupled with identification and enhancement of the capabilities that needed to be acquired, whether through training or through recruitment. While the expansion was in progress, a study of the order-to-delivery process was also undertaken to identify ways in which to reduce the cycle time. This was followed up with an exercise with a Boston-based consulting firm to identify leading-edge technologies where capability building should be undertaken. This would ensure that the organization was well placed to win future business in the API, custom research and manufacturing services area. This project was with an Indian polyester viscose spinning and weaving company. The company was facing intense competition from the unorganized sector, due to which it was facing high levels of slow-moving or non-moving finished goods inventory and heavy discounting. Both these led to high working capital requirement and therefore low profitability. The assignment focused on aligning different components of the supply chain to ensure smooth flow of material through the chain. The product portfolio and customer buying behavior was analyzed to identify stars, which gave high volume and high contribution, as well as dogs, which were low volume, low contribution. The distinct supply chain requirements for each were defined, and based on this, the client team identified 7 mini projects on which they worked to improve inventory and working capital turns and thereby enhance profitability. In case you'd like to reach me for any clarification or to discuss some opportunities to work together, you can email me on ajita.kini@ajitakini.net, or else my cell phone number is +91 98195 99412. Thank you.